In Genshin Impact, there are a numerous amount of factors that go into making your character and how well they'll perform. This can come from their talents, their constellations, their artifacts, and one of the more important factors is the weapon. Now the weapon can be in a bunch of different shapes and forms, and when I say that I mean the passives and the main stat are very important to these weapons, and this will change basically how your character will play. Now with these weapons, as I said, which are a very important cornerstone in your character, there are some of the rarest weapons in this game, and that is not due to I guess you could say how easy it is to get them or hard it is to get them, because if that was the case, then 5-star weapons will all be the rarest weapon in the game. Now technically anybody can get a 5-star weapon, it depends on how good you save, but we're going to be talking about other weapons that are even more rarer than 5-star weapons, which are the weapons you can't even obtain anymore. Yes, there are a good amount of weapons that you can't even obtain anymore, some that are best in slots for certain characters, and some that not so much but are really cool to have anyway. We're going to be talking about those in this video, and we're going to be going from chronological order from first to last with all the different rarest weapons in Genshin. Now for our first weapon, kicking off this rarest weapons in Genshin list, we're going to be talking about the Wind Bloom Ode. Now this Wind Bloom Ode bow is going to be a best in slot for certain characters, especially ones that scale off of EM or need EM in their kit. And one of the characters that do really well with this bow is Vantiso. And the passive skill for this weapon is, after using the elemental skill, receive a boon from the ancient wish of the Wind Bloom and increase attack by 16% for 6 seconds. Now this Wind Bloom Ode bow is a 4-star bow which was obtainable during the Invitation of Wind Bloom event. This is a very old event and is unobtainable any other way, which is another reason why I kind of hate that these event exclusive weapons are unobtainable, because a lot of these are really good for certain characters, and you'll see why in just a moment. Our next weapon is going to be one of Klee's favorites, which is the Dodoco Tales with an attack main stat. Now the Dodoco Tales is a pretty nice weapon. It's going to be a better weapon for these catalyst users that use normal attacks and charge attacks a lot. And this is going to be like characters like Klee, Wander, even kind of a more recent character, Yanfei, and all these other type of catalyst users. The passive for this weapon is normal attacks hits an opponent, increase charge attack damage by 16% for 6 seconds, and then charge attack hits on opponents increase attack by 8% for 6 seconds. The Dodoco Tales was a weapon that you could get during the first Midsummer Island Adventure event, so you cannot get this anymore. We did have a rerun of this event, but it did not come back with the Dodoco Tail, so we can expect this weapon to be gone into the void for a very long time until they decide what they're going to do with these event exclusive weapons. Next up is a weapon I personally would wish to come back, because it's something that I really been looking forward to getting and never got it, which was the Festering Desire, which this weapon is by far one of Bennett's best weapons, and everyone uses Bennett pretty much at this point, so a lot of you guys would have loved to have this, because wait until you know what the stats are on this guy. Festering Desire has an ER main stat, which Bennett needs a very big amount. Increases elemental skill damage by 16%, and then elemental skill crit rate by 6%. Now of course you don't use Bennett for his skill, really use it for his Q, but it would be nice to do some extra damage for it. And it being the ER main stat and give crit rate on your elemental skill and elemental skill damage by 60%, it's really nice to have as a sword. And this was going to be a weapon that was obtainable during the Chalk Prince and the Dragon event. This is the first event that was in Dragon Spine. This does have a follow-up event, but this gave us another weapon if I'm not wrong. So, oh yeah, this did give us another weapon, which is something we'll be talking about soon. But man, one of the better weapons of all the unobtainable weapons at this point, and oh my god, I wish I could have got this. The next one is kind of a meme weapon in a way. It's the Luxurious Sea Lord with the main stat attack. This is going to be a claymore. Increases elemental burst damage by 12%. And when an elemental burst hits opponents, there is a 100% chance of summoning a huge onrush of tuna that deals 100% attack as AoE damage. This could happen every 15 seconds. And this was obtainable during the Moonlight Merriment event for the Moonlight Festival. This is not a bad claymore. It's alright for certain DPSs. This is mainly something you put on if you have nothing else, but it works and does its job to help out the DPS. The next weapon is something that a lot of Albedo mains are going to cry about soon, because yes, this is the Cinebar Spindle, with a defense main stat, which there are not that many swords that have a defense main stat. Elemental skill damage is increased by 40% of defense, which is one of Albedo's main uses in the team. And the effect will be triggered no more than once every 1.5 seconds and will be clear 0.1 seconds after the elemental skill deals damage. This cinebar spindle was an event exclusive sword which was obtained during the shadows amidst snowstorms, and this was an event that was part 2 basically of the Dragon Spine centered event. So yeah, cinebar spindle and festering desire, probably one of the best, or both of these weapons ended up being the best weapons to come out of these unobtainable weapons at this point. And it hurts a lot of free-to-play accounts, a lot of newer accounts that don't have these, because they're locking Bennett and Albedo's best weapons behind a, I guess you could say, unobtainable wall of event because they weren't there when it happened. So hopefully there will be some way to get these weapons in the future, because man, do I want that festering desire. And I know a lot of people want the cinnabar spindle as well, because other than that, there's not really a lot of options to use as a sword for Albedo, especially because cinnabar spindle is just so good. Our next weapon is going to be the Oathsworn Eye, which is an attack main stat. It increases energy recharge for 24% and for 10 seconds after using an elemental skill. This was a 4-star catalyst, which is obtained through the 3 Realms Gateway offering event. This was an Economia centered event, which is a pretty good event. This could work well on a lot of supports. I do know that the Thrilling Tales of a Dragon Slayer is a better catalyst, but this would help a lot with certain supports, giving them the ER that they need, while also buffing their attack. So this wasn't a bad weapon to have. Another weapon would be the Fading Twilight with the ER main stat. The passive for this weapon has 3 states: Evangleam, Afterglow, and Dawn Blaze, which increases damage by 6, 10, and 14% respectively. When attacks hit opponents, this will switch to the next state, and this weapon can change states every 7 seconds. This character equipping this weapon can still trigger the state while off the field, and this was a really good bow for Yelan at the time. This was during her release and the Archon quest, and it was an Archon quest centered event. So they really tried to make this bow really good, with it increasing damage, having an ER main stat to get that burst up, and still being able to proc these passives during being off field. This is really a bow meant for Yelan. Still a really good bow for other characters like Fischl, other sub DPSs that don't have to stay on the field. So this was a really nice bow to have as well. Not as great as the Cinnabar Spindle and the Festering Desire in my opinion, but still a really cool bow. One of the last 2 weapons, which a lot of people that have started playing recently should have by now, the Missive Wind Spear spear, and then it had a main stat of attack. Within 10 seconds after an elemental reaction is triggered, attack is increased by 12% and elemental mastery is increased by 48%. This was of course a really good polearm for Xiangling, and she's free to play, so having this spear would make or free up a space that you can use your polearm that's on Xiangling or something like that on someone else. Especially with Dendro, stuff like Toma could use something like this. It would help with the EM increase and the attack increase, especially because he is going to be the main trigger for elemental reaction, so it's going to help a lot. This spear is pretty nice. Not as great as some of the ones we mentioned before, but a really nice spear. And this was only obtainable during the Ballad and Bruise event, which was a pretty cool event, Mondstadt centered event. After all this time we've been through Inazuma and Sumru. And then the very last one, of course, our current patch weapon that's going to be unobtainable as soon as we get into the next patch, is the tokobu shigure. Hopefully I said that right. It is an EM main stat, and the passive is after an attack hits opponents, it will inflict the instance of Cursed Parasol on one of them for 10 seconds. This effect can be triggered every 15 seconds. If this opponent is taken out during the duration, the cooldown will be refreshed immediately, and the character wielding this weapon will deal 16% more damage to the opponent affected by the Cursed Parasol. And this was of course obtained by the current event, the Akitsu Kimodamishi event. Hopefully I said that right. This is a really good for Kazuha and any other Anemo sword users. This is really nice to get that buff increased by a lot if you end up killing one of the enemies with the effect on them. So there's been some amazing weapons, especially like stuff like the Festering Desire, the Cinnabar Spindle, the Fading Twilight. A lot of these really cool weapons that we don't have access to anymore, especially for the lot newer accounts, you won't be able to access a lot of these really cool weapons that so far have all been in one way or another very helpful to one character. Some being best in slots, which is the more hard part to deal with. That stuff like the cinebar, spindle, and the festering desire is going to be really hard to come by if they don't ever bring it back, because for right now all of these weapons have never come back since their initial release. So hopefully they change that up. It'd be really nice to get these weapons because they're all really cool. But other than that, that's going to be it for this. Let me know how many of these weapons you have. If you have all of them, holy crap, you've been playing this game for a long time. And if you don't have all of them, let me know which ones you've been wanting to have for a long time. Me personally, like I've said before, festering desire 100% is my go-to. I would love to have a wish for a sword. Other than that, I have all of these except the Dodoco Tales and the Wind Bloom Ode. I don't really need these weapons, but they're all pretty cool anyway. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all until the next one, and peace.